She dumped me when I was poor, then asked for help when I made it. She dumped me when I was broke, called me a dead end. 5 years later, after I built a company from scratch, she came back asking for a handout. But to really get how we ended up there, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to a tiny apartment that was always cold, the smell of instant ramen, and a love that I thought could survive anything. Section 1, The Humble Past. Act 1. For 2 years, she was my everything. We didn't have much money, but it really felt like we had it all. Our dates weren't fancy dinners, they were late-night walks, dreaming up our future under the city lights. We'd split a single slice of pizza and talk for hours about the company I wanted to build, the software I was coding in our cramped living room that was also my office. I was running on cheap coffee and pure ambition. She'd lean over my shoulder, look at all the code on my screen, and tell me she believed in me. We were supposed to be a team. I was the dreamer, and she was my rock, or so I thought. The cracks started small. A frustrated sigh when my card got declined at the grocery store. A comment about her friend's new designer bag. She started talking less about our future and more about all the things we couldn't afford right now. Her friend Jessica was dating some guy who just got promoted. They were going to Bali. We were debating if we could afford to leave the heat on for another hour. I kept trying to reassure her, showing her my business plan, the progress I was making. Just a little longer, babe, I'd tell her. I'm so close to a breakthrough. But the light in her eyes was starting to fade when she looked at me. It was being replaced by something else. Pity, and then resentment. The end came on a rainy Tuesday. I'd just spent the last of our grocery money on a software license I absolutely needed, thinking it was the final piece of the puzzle. I told her, with a smile, looks like it's ramen for the rest of the week, because I honestly believed it was the last time. She didn't smile back. She just stood there, arms crossed, with this cold, final look on her face. I can't do this anymore, Mark, she said, her voice completely flat. I can't live on almost and someday. I look at you and I don't see a dreamer. I see a dead end. A dead end. That word hit me harder than a punch. It just echoed in our tiny, quiet apartment, completely drowning out the rain. I'm building this for us, I whispered, my voice cracking. No, she said, pulling a packed suitcase out from behind the couch. You're building a fantasy. I need a reality. She left me standing there with 2 bowls of uncooked ramen on the counter and a dream that now felt like a total joke. The pain of that rejection was real, a deep physical ache that settled right into my bones. Section 2, The Transformation, Act 2. The first few weeks were just a blur of humiliation and grief. Every part of the apartment reminded me of her. The sound of rain felt like a personal insult. Her words, dead end, just played on a loop in my head. The loneliness was crushing, and I started to question everything about myself. I was at rock bottom, and for a minute, I almost believed she was right. Then one morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw this hollowed-out, defeated guy staring back, and in that moment, something inside me just snapped. It started as a flicker of anger, then it became pure defiance. A dead end? No, I wasn't a dead end. I was a man who'd been knocked down, but I wasn't broken. That feeling of powerlessness lit a fire. I decided right then and there, she would not get to write my story. Her betrayal became my fuel. At first, it was all about revenge, about proving her wrong. But as I threw myself into the work, something funny happened. The need to show her what she'd lost slowly turned into a need to show myself what I could build. The mission wasn't about her anymore. It was about me. It went from a revenge tour to a journey of self-respect. I sold everything I had that wasn't essential to my work. I moved into an even smaller room, basically a closet with a mattress on the floor and a desk. I cut out all distractions. No parties, no dating, nothing. My entire world shrank to code, coffee, and my laptop. I worked 18-hour days. I taught myself new coding languages, read everything I could, and networked with anyone who'd give me 5 minutes. All that pain from the breakup was channeled into a single-minded focus. There were hundreds of times I wanted to quit, moments where the doubt crept in, and I could hear her voice whispering dead end, but I'd just push it away and write another line of code. My first win was a small freelance project, a few $100 that felt like $1 million. I used it to upgrade my server. Then another project came and another. I started hiring other freelancers. My little one-man show was actually growing. After a year of grinding, I finally had a prototype for my own software, the one Chloe called a fantasy. I landed a small round of seed funding, just enough to get a tiny office and hire my first 2 employees. The next 3 years were a whirlwind. We launched the software. It took off. We reinvested every dime. We hired more people. We outgrew 3 different offices. My life changed in ways I used to only dream about. Instant ramen was replaced with catered lunches for my whole team. The cold, tiny apartment was now a penthouse with a view of the entire city. The guy she left behind was gone. In his place was a CEO. But more importantly, in his place was a man who had rebuilt himself, not for revenge but for his own self-respect. Section 3, The Confrontation, Act 3. 5 years to the day she walked out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. Hey stranger, it's Chloe. I just stared at her name. It felt like a ghost from a past life. Part of me, the part that still remembered the sting of her words, wanted to just delete it and move on. But the other part, the part that was finally secure in himself, was curious. I replied, "Hello, Chloe. It's been a while." She asked to meet for coffee, said she had something important to ask. We met at a cafe downtown, a place I happened to own a small piece of. I got there early and watched her walk in. The years hadn't been as kind to her. She looked tired, her clothes were a bit worn, and I could just see the stress in her eyes. She tried to act casual, asking about my life like she hadn't seen my company in magazines. She told me what happened to her, the better man she left me for. He'd lost his job, they burned through all their savings, and he'd left her a few months ago. Now she was stuck in a low-wage job, about to be evicted. Then she got to the point. "Mark, I know I have no right to ask this," she started, staring down at her hands, "but I'm in a really bad spot. I just need a little help. You know, a loan? For old time's sake." I listened. I let the silence hang in the air for a moment after she was done. I didn't feel angry. I didn't even feel pity. I just felt clear. "Chloe," I said, my voice steady, "I remember a time when I needed help too. Not money, just belief. I needed someone to believe that the ramen and the dream were just temporary. I needed you to see me, not my empty bank account." She looked up, her eyes pleading. "I know, I was young. I was stupid." "You were," I agreed, without any malice. "But it was more than that. You called me a dead end. You stood in our apartment and called my dream a fantasy. That word dead end, it haunted me. For a while, it almost broke me. But in the end, it became the foundation for everything I built." I leaned in a little. "This company, this life, I didn't build it to prove you wrong. I built it to prove myself right. It was built on the self-respect I had to find after you left. Giving you money now would feel like a betrayal of that. It would be like telling that guy eating noodles and crying himself to sleep that all his pain didn't mean anything." I put a $100 bill on the table. "This is for the coffee and a cab home. But that's it. My belief is an investment, and I only give it to people who see the value in a person, not just their potential payout." As I stood up to leave, my phone buzzed. It was a picture from my fiancée, Sarah. She'd just picked up the new puppy we were getting together. Sarah met me 3 years ago, when I was still grinding, still building. She never saw a CEO. She just saw Mark. I smiled, a real genuine smile. I walked out of that cafe and didn't look back, leaving Chloe and the ghost of our past behind. Forgiving her didn't mean I had to pay for her future. My success wasn't my revenge. My peace is. It's about realizing your worth is something you decide, not something other people get to define for you. The real win isn't just the money. It's the peace you find when you build a life that is 100% your own. If this story hit home for you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for listening.